Welcome to another episode of Card Subject to Change, part of the For Frequency's Sake podcast network. On this edition, we give our take on WWE Backlash. Is this truly where bunnies go bad? Let's go to the baddest bunny on the podcast, Nick Bull.
Hey, from the lips of Sam to the ears of everyone, you're looking at the baddest bunny of them all right here.
Hey, Nick, hold on one second, Nick. Since I know we were in Puerto Rico last night, I'd had a special surprise for you. So give me 1 second. Hold on.
Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Card Subject to Change, parte de For Frequency Sake Podcast Network. En esta edición, damos nuestra opinión sobre WWE Backlash. Es realmente aquí donde los conejitos se vuelven malos. Vamos con el conejito más malo del podcast, Nick Bull.
Okay, now we're good to go. I think we're ready to go for those in Puerto Rico. That now we know we're good.
For all our listeners in Puerto Rico.
Wow, that was a great intro there. Thank you very much. It was a late night in Puerto Rico last night. Just got touched back down here at Moline International not too long ago. It was a late night, but I'm sure it was a fun show to you and to CZ. Should mention thank you for joining us here. Episode 49, Card Subject to Change. We're going to talk Backlash from last night or from when we're taping this last night. Joining me as always, the Wizard CZ.
Yo.
And then we've got the impartial one, the striped one, Stripes, Chris Angle. And yours truly, the honorable one, Nick Bull. So, guys, I'm telling you what, we have this mix-up in management. WWE sells. Is Vince in charge? Is Triple H in charge? I'm going to tell you what, I know who was in charge last night, and that pay-per-view was a blast.
It absolutely
It was great. Whoever was in charge last night, putting that show together was amazing. From the crowd just being into the matches, I should say, to downright, booking to. I looked at a lot of the matches last night, and there was actual psychology. Like, I was watching the matches and it made sense. Like, it's been a while since I sat there and watched a match, and there was a lot of psychology, just from different like move sets to beginning of the match. They're doing something to make it flow into like the end of the match. It was just it flowed. Let's just say that.
And I agree. It was very well put together. A lot of great psychology. We'll talk about that match by match, but I want to start off. Let's talk about this crowd down in Puerto Rico, man. Holy crap. Those guys were on fire.
CZ, I'm glad you brought the crowd up because as Stripes was talking about the booking of the show, by the way, Triple H, that's a Triple H show.
Oh, yeah.
Triple H
100.
all day. There wasn't anything outlandishly stupid on that show. Otherwise, That's a Vince tell right there. But Triple H is about making the fans happy, right? There were a lot of happy fans at the end of last night, whether of either main event, I believe. I don't think anybody left that building or left watching that show disappointed by any stretch of the means.
No, not at all.
Imagination. But CZ, you raise a great point. And Stripes, I'll ask you this because you've been around. You've probably been involved in more wrestling shows than all three of us. That crowd was magical last night. It had been 18 years since Puerto Rico had a pay-per-view or a WWE event. How much did that crowd make that show?
I 100% think that crowd made that show. And here's why I say that. Because these performers, these wrestlers, they go out there night in and night out. A lot of them, in the WWE, they're gone from their families 300 plus odd days a year. And this is how the fans should thank those performers for putting on that show, putting their bodies on the line. I think us as wrestling fans, we get so jaded and so nonchalant about going to these matches and saying, oh yeah, it's a good job. Oh, sit on our hands and clap. But those fans actually were appreciative of what those wrestlers were in the ring giving to them. They were, granted, yeah, they were, cheering some of the good guy or cheering some of the bad guys and, booing some of the good guys. I.e. Bianca and Io. They were giving it to Bianca and they were loving everything that Io gave, which is fine. I mean, some fans, actually love that style of wrestling, and then they hate what Bianca did.
Yeah, I was over at the Highview watching with Nick last night, and one of the first things I said when this crowd was just rabid was this reminded me of a Raw after WrestleMania crowd.
Agreed.
What they normally are like. This last Raw after WrestleMania was kind of tame comparatively, but this crowd down in Puerto Rico, they hit it out of the park.
Yeah, they were definitely worked up in a lather from the start. Talking about the crowd, it had that. Somebody asked me, I think a friend of my son's asked me, what was it like being, back in the Attitude Era going to a show? And I want to get back to him and say it was a lot like last night. There was that buzz in the air.
Yep.
That buzz of the great unknown. That buzz, we're going to see something big and epic tonight. And the crowd definitely showed up. I know the crowd definitely made the show. The matches definitely were great. But I think it's an unfair criticism. I'm not picking on the show by any means. I'm going to stick up for the show and the crowd here. I think it's an unfair criticism by wrestling fans, people who just want to criticize something when they say, oh, the crowd just made that show. The matches weren't that good. No, that crowd made that show. But those matches, that card top to bottom was fantastic. It was fun and amazing. I looked at CZ last night. I'm like, man, you think Stripes will get on? Let's get on and talk about it right now. I'm really hot about this show because it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I'm telling you guys, let's enjoy these shows, because how often in times in the past have we walked away from the show bitching and complaining and not liking this and not liking that? And last night, there weren't very many criticisms about this show, in my opinion. No. And I like to bitch and complain about minute things. And I thought last night was pretty good.
It kind of was like how I felt about night one of WrestleMania. Top to bottom, there was not a stinker on this card.
I agree.
There were on paper. There definitely was at least one on paper. We'll talk about that, but it was way better than expected.
I would say when I came home from work on Saturday, I looked at the card and I said, man, there's really nothing that I was really looking forward to. The only thing that I really was looking forward to on paper was how Seth Rollins did with Omos. And that was kind of the only thing that I was looking forward to. I really wasn't looking forward to Cody and Brock. I really was not looking forward to Io and Bianca. It just on paper, and I definitely wasn't looking forward to Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. I'm not the biggest Damian Priest fan, but all that aside, it started and it definitely exceeded my expectations, because nothing on paper looked like, nothing popped out. You know what I mean? But it definitely exceeded a lot of expectations.
And let's face facts. Backlash has always been a B or maybe even a C pay-per-view for the WWE. Yep. But this particular edition of Backlash really hit it out of the park.
Because it's a come down from WrestleMania.
Yeah.
No, you both make great points about Backlash, as I point to my screens here. You're right. It is a come down from WrestleMania. And now with the draft, it's almost kind of like a moot point, like whatever happens, happens. We're on to the next thing. The draft happens. So this is kind of the we're going to close the book on all these storylines, because now we got to go to the next thing, because we already had the draft. But this Backlash exceeded my expectations. You don't have a world championship match on the card, guys. Think about that. Okay, your tag match is a 6-man tag. And as much as we've had 6-man tags in the past, this one was awesome. This was a good one.
And really, it didn't have any implications. I mean, there was no real.
No, I mean, the implications are, is the rift and the bloodline going to grow bigger? And I think there's something that's going to happen there. Not bloodline, but I think KO and Sammy are going to be going their separate ways here pretty soon. I think the honeymoon is over with those two. I think they're prone to more single stuff. I mean, just did you listen to Sammy when they came out last night? My God, just the music. I mean, the crowd was.
Oh yeah.
Again, the crowd was nuts. They were nuts for Seth's thing. I don't know how you guys want to kick off this show. Do we kick it off from the start, or
why don't we just go? I've heard a great saying. It's let's start from the very beginning, and that's a very good place to start.
And
that would
before we get
into
the
sound of music,
card, before we get into the actual card, Stripes over here quoting musicals on us. Before we get into the actual card, Nick, you mentioned the draft. One thing a lot of times we will see WWE do out of a draft when title holders are changing shows is they will have them face someone from the show that they are coming from instead of the one they're going to, so that we have the guessing game of, well, is the title going to stay on Raw? Is the title going to stay on SmackDown? That was not the case here. Rhea Ripley faced someone who's on I'm pretty sure they both faced someone who was on the same brand that they're going to. With the exception of Rhea, I think Rhea and Zelina are on opposite shows. But
that's the thing that I was thinking of. I was going to say, is there going to be title changes tonight? That was the thing I was thinking about. Well, are they going to give it? I mean, are they going to give it to Zelina Vega? Or are they going to give it to Io? You know, maybe switch the titles. That way they don't have to change the name of the titles, I guess. You know what I mean?
And you know, the show's already happened, so we're not spoiling anything unless you haven't read the results or watched the show. But
yeah, we're
looking at
by the time this airs and posts, it'll be past 24 hours, so we're good.
We're looking at a situation where it's Charlotte and Becky all over again. Maybe not as heated as it was, but we're going to see them switch their titles in the next week or so. I would imagine.
I would say so. I mean, that's a very fair assumption.
But no, this crowd.
Is that your main event at WrestleMania 40 for the women?
Quite possibly.
Bianca and Rhea? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
I could see
they've
that.
already teased it.
I mean,
they have already teased it. So
listen, Bianca, spoiler alert, Bianca with her win last night over Io Sky, becomes the longest reigning women's champion.
Yeah. Yep.
What's not to keep it up until next WrestleMania? That'd be 2 years, dang near calendar. She won it at WrestleMania 38 night one,
I believe.
I think. Okay. So, and they've been stating it going into it, and I think she tweeted something out about it late last night. I was up watching it late last night along with the weather and stuff, that she is now officially, with that win, she doesn't have a match until then, will be the longest reigning women's champion of all time. So, do they do the Roman Reigns with Bianca now and keep her for another year? I mean, my goodness, she's hot. She's over. And her and Rhea seems to be the match that everybody wants to see, but we're probably not going to see it for another year. Maybe at a Survivor Series.
And they've already teased it.
When they hand over these belts, and I'm guessing, is that going to take place maybe tomorrow night? All this championship talk and the stuff with Raw. We'll talk about that later in the show. But you talk about the women of the separate shows. I wonder if it's a Becky Charlotte situation where the belt gets dropped, there's disrespect, and then we have an instant feud, and then you got your women's headliner, your women's headliner.
We could see Rhea standing tall and holding both titles. You know, I mean, that could be one of those things where Bianca goes to hand it over, and Rhea just takes both of them and holds both of them,
stands over.
Yeah.
Yep. Walks away. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how they handle that. Got to think they do it on Raw, right? I mean,
you would think so.
Sooner rather than later. Correct.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
I read something post show last night about this opener of Io Sky and the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, that this was Bianca Belair's best non-WrestleMania match, if that makes any sense. I knew exactly what they meant because she's had she's had the match with Sasha, who'd she beat last year? She beat Becky.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Becky last year, and then she beat Asuka this year, correct?
Correct.
Yes. I want to make sure. So she's on an incredible run. Rhea's the hottest thing going. She's the hottest face women's champ for quite some time, probably since Becky. She's not to the Becky-esque level of that run yet with how over Becky was with the man or whatnot, but Bianca's there, and man, you want magic. Give us Bianca, Rhea, and I think you're going to get something similar to what you had this year with Rhea and Charlotte, which is the women's match of the year so far this year.
I agree.
And we've said it before. I'll say it again. What a great time to be a wrestling fan with so many talented people out there all over, women's, men's, tag team. So many people are hitting it well with the crowd. This is just a phenomenal time to be a wrestling fan.
Can I just point out we're 17 minutes, excluding the intro, and us bantering back and forth. We've been talking nothing about this first matchup. We've been talking about the women's division. If that's not a sign in the right direction to where say this is just a Triple Paul show and Vince has no input into what's going on. That's just talking about the women's, the what is it? Raw, Raw women's title. Or no, am I wrong? No. Was it the Raw women's title?
Bianca's the Raw women's title, is she not?
Okay. So I mean, yeah, that's right. So and I mean, like I said, we're almost 20 minutes in, and that's all we've talked about. We haven't even begun to hit, what other matches that were on there. So if that doesn't tell you anything right there, so yeah.
I mean, let's get into it. Let's look at the matches on the card. I mean, we start off hot with Io versus Bianca, and what a great match that was. The crowd kind of hijacked the match a little bit as far as who they were cheering for, not cheering for Bianca Belair. But that is awesome, in my opinion. I love that they were hot for Io Sky because she's a phenomenal wrestler. She was a great NXT Women's Champion for quite a long reign. She got a lot of respect from this crowd, and well-deserved, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the crowd had a lot to do. I mean, obviously, her working with Bianca is amazing in and of itself. I think the crowd elevated her performance. Like, we got the best of Io Sky last night. That's the first time Io Sky has looked like Io Sky from NXT. And she was the best women's wrestler on that roster on NXT when she was down there. And it's finally time that she's getting showcased in this. It took her to be a part of Damage Control. That's fine, because all three of the members of Damage Control can work and are going to be showcased. But I'm happy for Io Sky. People are kind of, I always want to say Io Shirai just because of NXT, but I'm happy for Io that she's getting showcased the way she should. She can go, and going against Bianca. This match was amazing. Just to go back to listen to the crowd reaction of itself. I mean, Bianca was getting the John Cena treatment. So, I mean, I don't want to hear people boo-hooing over people booing Bianca. Bianca got John Cena'd last night, probably for the first time ever.
And the great thing about it, if you guys go back and look, Bianca and Io definitely they pulled an audible, and Bianca was actually at certain times she was acting more like the heel, and Io was acting like the face. It was great. I loved it, and that brings me back to I was listening to a podcast, and Edge and they were talking about Edge and Umaga and one of their matches where they had to throw an audible. I believe it might have been maybe in Canada or something, but they had to throw an audible where Edge was the babyface, and Umaga, I'm don't quote me on this, but it was something to that effect. But they throw the audible in there, and Bianca was acting, like the cocky heel, and Io was trying to get the crowd into it. And I mean, that you don't need to try to put that crowd into it. The crowd was already into it. But it was great to see. And I think the reason why Damage Control came out was to put over Io as the heel. And,
Yeah,
it did work because, obviously had that a little bit of the interference with Bailey grabbing the hair and the referee noticing it. Yes, sir.
This is part of the reason why CZ and I, agreed to bring you on, have you part as a team, part of the show. I need you to break down what Bailey's gear was last night.
Oh my God!
For those,
no. So okay, so
watch the show.
Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing about that.
Bailey. Oh my goodness.
So here's the funny thing about that. I got up, I got back up today, and I, kind of just scrolling on Facebook, scrolling on Twitter, and I hope Nick left us, but that's okay.
No, he's still here.
I was
sitting up and drop my pen.
That's okay. I was sitting there with my wife, scrolling Facebook, scrolling Twitter, and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't notice that. And I looked at, and I'm like, I showed my wife, and I'm like, I didn't know that was Bailey's gear. And if you didn't see, there was like cutouts on her pants. Nick, you explained it better. How was the
it was
how was,
she wasn't wearing much. She put a lot of trust in the craftsmanship of that
and I did,
and I'm telling you, dude, she looks amazing, and she can go in the ring. She is probably one of the best, if not best performers on either roster right now.
And that's how much I will say that match. I didn't even.
I will say this: with the way that the back of her pants were attached, if there had been a couple of snaps, there would have been a full moon in Puerto Rico, one way or another.
Now, I'm not downgrading this match by any means. Bailey, what she had on was something else. The Io and Bianca, like, we're all sitting around, kind of taking bets, like, man, what's going to kick off the show? And I honestly thought it was going to be Rollins and Omos, because I'm like, this match, get the big roar going. It's not going to, give the crowd what they want. It's not going to have to last very long. But man, They proved me wrong. I'm glad they put Bianca and
I'm glad,
and Io there and showcase them. And I'm glad this crowd got behind Io in a sense. And this was kind of like, her big coming out party for the rest of the WWE universe that didn't watch NXT and now knows her full potential. So I love this match.
Exactly. This is what a opener should do. It should get the crowd into the night, get them ready for what's going on, and just get them hyped. And that's what Io and Bianca did. They went out there, killed it, got everything ready. And that's your essential curtain jerker. I mean, some people use curtain jerker as a bad notation or a bad comment, but I don't think a lot of wrestlers like to be the curtain jerker because they want to get their match done and get the heck out.
I totally know what you mean, and these two just went above and beyond. I thought, they really set the table they set the table, and I'm happy that they both got to have this show. This match for the WWE universe for everybody.
I agree.
And I think Bianca, I think they're going to go the route of Roman with Bianca now that she's the longest reigning champ, and we'll see maybe a year from now. Io, I think maybe that performance was maybe the performance that turns Io eventually face down the road after the falling out with Damage Control.
I agree.
Raise your hand. I can't wait to see that falling out and Io and Bailey go. That's going to be a fun match. So we'll all be winners there for sure.
So I want to say something. I have Bleacher Report up on my iPad next to me, and one of their notable moments, and I've got to completely agree, especially, and you're going to hear this word, at least from me, a lot on this show, because of the pop when Io came out. They made the right call in not using the Damage Control theme and letting Io come out to her own music.
I agree.
Totally agree. Totally agree. When you appear with the group, you play the group's music. But yes, and I love the Damage Control music. But you're right. The Io Sky music was the right call there. I wanted to say one more thing before we go to the next thing. Was this Rhea Charlotte from WrestleMania? No, I don't think so. But I think when we're talking top 5 matches for women in the company at the end of the year, we'll be talking about this Backlash match. It was really good. If you missed it, go back and watch it. These two really set the tone for the night along with the crowd, and the rest of the card took the ball and ran with it, and in the end gave us a great show.
Speaking of taking the ball and running with it, the next match on the card, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, or at least the elephant in WWE, the biggest guy on the roster. That is Omos taking on Seth Rollins. I said earlier on paper there was one stinker in this match to me, or in this card to me, and this was it. I'm not a fan of Omos. I don't think I will ever be a fan of Omos. But that being said, our boy Seth Rollins really made him look like a freaking rock star last night.
So when Omos came out, I noticed that I don't know if this is new gear for him or what, but I did notice he actually has legit wrestling gear, and I liked it. He looked like a legit badass. He looked like a tall, big, mean SOB. I
think it might have been similar to the gear that he wore against Lesnar at WrestleMania.
Maybe, but I definitely
this had a little more detailed to it, but I know exactly what you mean.
It definitely came off in the ring that he has been working. I don't know if he was directly working with Seth Rollins himself. Obviously, they probably did do some work in the ring together, but it definitely showed. He showed a lot more emotion. He showed a lot more charisma that I noticed. There was points in the match where he was actually smiling, like he was, he was laughing. He was, mocking Seth Rollins, getting into it with the crowd. And I think we need to see more of this from Omos. He definitely was more in tune with that cockier side of himself, not where he's like I'm a big robot and I'm going to, just have a stoic face. But he actually had charisma. He actually had, emotions, facial emotions, and he was getting into it with Rollins. It was great.
You mentioned the mocking that he was doing. I've 2 points on that. This crowd, as we've talked about, being fantastic. I can't think of a time for more than maybe 30 seconds where they stopped serenading Rollins' music throughout this match.
No,
but at one point you see Omos leading
mocking
the band in a mocking
it. Yeah. And I think that helps the fans a lot more, just because as a heel, if you're mocking the fans like that, and it gets them going more. It gets their goat. You know what I mean? It gets them fired up, fueled more, and it gives you more of the babyface fire.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think him working in this match with Seth last night, Omos, really stepped up the intangibles for him, like working with a live crowd, okay, and dealing with them and reacting to them and embracing the character that you are, instead of just mean mug, and add some to it. My question to you guys is this, and here's what I'm struggling with this match. Rollins went in there and gave Omos the match of his life. We won't dispute that. How do you book Omos now?
Ooh.
You've had him lose back-to-back pay-per-views, clean as a sheet. How do you book him now? He's your biggest guy on the roster, okay? Now, hear me out. I think Omos, if he would have beat Rollins, doesn't hurt Rollins at all, and it makes you believe that Omos can now go win a world championship at any time.
I agree.
I'm not mad that Seth Rollins won. I'm mad how they booked the ending, and now when Omos comes on, you know what that is for me? That's stand up and go take a piss, because I don't need to take this guy seriously anymore. He's 7'3", 405 pounds, and he's been beaten by two of the biggest names. I mean, if this guy can't beat him, well, then he's nothing. I mean, everybody better beat him, right?
I don't think so. Yeah. I think
it's hard. They've booked themselves in a corner now with him, in my opinion. Just, you've had him lose twice clean back-to-back months. high profile matches. But I'm not. I mean, Rollins was $1 million. I loved how Omos blocked the first curb stomp and like no sold it. I wanted him to no sell.
I like that.
And he did that, and it was beautiful.
I think I'm gonna agree, but I'm gonna disagree with your statement just because they didn't book it to where he completely got decimated by Seth Rollins. Omos did a lot of the offense in that match. He had definitely had the upper hand in that match, and that like he should have had the upper hand for most of the match. And then Seth got a couple, good blows in and finishing it off with that super curb stomp off the top rope.
Right.
But I think definitely. What's that?
That super curb stomp kind of makes you stand up and say "Mamma Mia," doesn't it?
Exactly. I think the Seth Rollins win here could possibly cement him into the finals of the new heavyweight title match in Saudi Arabia. But I don't think it backs WWE into a corner with Omos, because if you simply put Omos in there, maybe with another bigger guy, Bronson Reed, put him in there with Bronson Reed, because Bronson Reed can do a lot of Seth Rollins maneuvers, maybe not as graceful, but Bronson Reed, he showed last night. We'll get into that later, but he showed last night that he can do those small man moves in a big body.
Oh, for sure.
And we were talking about in a couple episodes ago, who are we going to put against Bronson Reed? I think right there you should put Omos and Bronson Reed, just because we going back to one called Manders last week. It could be a hoss fight.
I'm trying really hard not to use that term anymore. I'm just going to say a couple of badass dudes of like or similar weight classes are just going to beat the shit out of each other. That's what I'm going to call it from now on.
There you go. But and we, like I said, we were talking about what do you do with Bronson Reed? I think you do that with Bronson Reed, and I think that would I think Omos is a legitimate now, but I think it would bring more legitimacy to Omos. But here's the thing: don't make it a one and done with Omos and Bronson Reed. Make it a best of 3, best of 5 series. You know what I mean? Have them go back and forth. Bronson.
I'm going to say something here, and I hope this isn't the last time we see Omos and Rollins. I'm going to be honest with you.
I hope not either.
I hope like if Rollins does win this tournament, or whatever we want to call it, we'll get to it later. If he wins this world heavyweight thing, I hope Omos is like an immediate threat. I just think for a guy that's 7'3", him working with a Rollins, and man, Rollins was selling for him like it was Black Friday. Like it was Black Friday, just selling left and right. And there was a couple of times I'm like, man, Rollins is Shawn Michaels level-esque.
Yes.
If not higher.
That's the new Mr. WrestleMania right there.
With his selling in his in-ring performances. And he really made Omos. I mean, God, Omos can now go back to his locker room, go back home, or whoever he travels with, and say, hey, I just had a match that was over 3 stars, maybe probably over 4 stars, maybe, and if you would have said that, if you would have said that to me last week or the week before, I would have looked at you and laughed in your face, just because looking at what Omos has done previously, it hasn't even come close to what he did with Seth Rollins in one night. In one night, he did that with Seth Rollins, and there wasn't much lead up to this match. There wasn't much backstory to this match. And now people want to go down the rabbit hole and say, yeah, they've been doing this back and forth, and they've been interrupting, whatever. But they haven't been up in your face like saying, here's the story that we're going to tell between Seth Rollins and Omos. But it didn't need it, and it didn't need it. No, it didn't need it. Exactly. Omos has MVP for his mouthpiece, right? Mm-hmm. And Rollins came out there, and I'm telling you, excuse me, that promo he cut on Omos, where I'm not afraid of you. I belong here. I'm crazy. I'm gonna kick your head and bouncing off the mat several times. But it was perfect. Just went in there and Omos standing there looking menacing is great. He can't answer anything to that, So everything, despite the limited lead up to this match, and I know what you're touching on there, Stripes, when you say that. Yep. This match exceeded my expectations. I know it was CZ's stinker going into the show. It wasn't my stinker. We'll touch on my stinker, what I thought the stinker of the night was going to be here in a little bit. But I'm telling you, I can't wait. I can't wait to sit down. I'm just doing this show on one watch through, and not going back and watching a second time. But I can't wait to go back and watch Omos's domination and destruction of Rollins again, because you're right that needed. You're right. They booked the match right in him losing, fine, whatever. I just thought it puts them in a corner. But you're right. That needed to be an 80-20 Omos match, and Rollins.
And it was. Can I just gush on Seth Rollins for a minute? Because
wait, CZ.
No,
CZ.
wait a minute.
CZ.
Okay, hold on.
I would say yes. If you could get the former Traveler Motel to sponsor our show, I would say you can gush all you want. For those of you that know the Quad Cities, the Traveler's gone. They tore that damn thing down and made way.
Do I need an umbrella?
You can gush. Hold on. Do I need to pause and get my poncho? Do I need to get my poncho real quick?
How about this? How about I change my statement? Gush about Seth Rollins.
You can gush about Rollins all you want, but that means you have to gush 2 times for Baron Corbin before you gush for somebody else.
Oh my God.
No, I'm shitting you. Go ahead and gush. Let me get my galoshes here.
He is the next level GOAT. I want to say he is on that Chris Jericho level where he's going to be.
Oh, no. Don't say that, because
I
think Rollins puts over guys.
Well, as much as everybody thinks so, I think Jericho puts over guys. But look at the longevity. Okay, look at this. Let's think about this. Chris Jericho's the longevity of his career. He has been here, there, everywhere. And he has he's wrestled biggest names to the smallest names. And
he's remained relevant all these years.
He's made himself relevant. And he also has been putting on clinics.
Oh, no, I totally agree.
And I think that's what a Seth Rollins can and will do for WWE. Even if, say, he does leave the WWE at any point in time, which I don't think it's going to happen. He's going to be like the Undertaker and stay there and not go anywhere else.
Lifer, for sure.
He is a lifer, and he's a I'm going to quote Booker T here. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Or no, that's Michael Cole. I'm sorry, first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you want to talk about lifers? Taker, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton in that situation. But I don't need. What's the next match? I know.
Hold on. Before we go to the next match, I want to say something about Rollins and.
Are you going to gush? Do I need to get galoshes?
No. Go back 3 weeks ago. The internet was going absolutely to Rollins for walking out of the Raw of the match and say that now. I call bullshit. Rollins, this match did exactly what they wanted it to do. It put over Omos in a big way.
Yep.
Made him look super strong and made him look like $1 million.
I agree.
No, much ado about nothing. Much ado about nothing. Like, so many times these sites want to put that out there. Who knows? Maybe he had permission to leave right after his segment. A lot of times this stuff kind of happens, but I'm telling you, this match did wonders, I think, for Omos, but I also think you got to believe what it did for Seth Rollins and showing you he can work with anyone and making it an effective match. I don't know if there are 4 other guys in that locker room that could have went out and had that match with Omos.
Give Seth
night.
Rollins a broom. Give him a broom, and he will have a 5-star match.
Or give him a doll. Give him a doll.
Or give him a 7'3", 405-pound giant, and he'll go out there and make him look like $1 million. And that's exactly what he did. So
he did.
A pleasant surprise with this match. I think we all would agree.
I agree.
This match exceeded expectations.
Match on the card was we're going A-Town down.
A-Town down.
I don't think I did that right. I don't know.
I'm going to comment first on this. We talked about earlier when you talk about belts changing hands with draft and there's no mystery, blah, blah, blah. This was the match where there was some intrigue, right? There was, this guy could win and take it to another show, or these two could win and it could stay here. I don't think anybody thought that Lashley wasn't going to lose, but in the case he did, I'm like, if Lashley Theory. I didn't think Theory was going to lose this match going in. I thought if Theory did drop the title either last night or real soon, look out, because he could be the next world heavyweight champion. I kind of was on the lookout if he would drop the belt, but he didn't. I like this match. I kind of thought it went a little short. Maybe that was by design. Maybe they're going to pick back up later, but I like all three of these guys and how they interacted. I guess my complaint with the match, I just wish it was a little longer maybe.
I can agree with that.
Hello. I think we're there. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I'm good.
All right. No, I think this match did what it needed to do. I thought everybody shined in this match. Mm-hmm. Bronson Reed, man, I can't say enough about him. He is a monster, and he's going to do big things. Austin Theory, definitely one of the top stars in WWE right now, whether you love him, whether you hate him. This was a great match, top to bottom. And I mentioned Reed and Theory specifically. That's not to crap on Bobby Lashley either. Match definitely could have gone in any direction. Bobby Lashley and Theory are both on SmackDown, so Theory could have feasted one of them. But my leaning would have been, if he was going to lose the title, would have been to Lashley, and it would have stayed on SmackDown.
If on my paper, or after watching the show, the first run through, this probably was my least favorite match. And Nick said something about it earlier. It could have been a lot longer. It was a great match. Don't get me wrong. I think they definitely cut him short on time. It could have been a lot longer. Didn't really tell a whole lot of story. It did what it was supposed to do. But they could have definitely gave him a lot longer of time, and I think that would have solidified this match to be this show to be an A+ show. I'll give my rating later, but this would have made it a perfect show if they would have made this match a little longer.
I understand where you're going there, Stripes, but I think they cut this match short knowing all the surprises that they had planned for the next match. But I hear you.
I agree.
I was down a little bit that this match was shorter because I like all three of these guys. I like seeing all three of them together the first time. I'm not the biggest fan of triple threat matches. Don't get me wrong. With these three guys, hey, styles make fights, right? CZ and all three of these guys are kind of different. Lashley and Bronson Reed both being huge are different, so they had different styles. I was bummed at that fact, but seeing all the surprises with the next match, I kind of, forgave it afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, the right guy won. I was hoping for a surprise, but Theory winning just, grows your hatred for him.
Yeah,
yes,
I agree.
Let me ask you guys. I've got a name in mind that I'm comparing Bronson Reed to, especially you look at that moonsault that he does. I'm not going to tell you that name. I want you guys to tell me who you're thinking.
I think I know who you're thinking. Did this wrestler headline WrestleMania 11 with Lawrence Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think he is. He's a little bit bigger than Bam Bam Bigelow. I think Bam Bam can move a little bit better, but man, they're both big guys that really could move. And yeah, I can see the similarities. Bronson probably a little bit bigger though. But what do you think, Stripes?
I definitely would have to agree. I was thinking, CZ was going to say Lex Luger, But no.
Wait.
All jokes aside, I definitely I agree that he's a Bam Bam Bigelow, maybe even a one-man gang. I think that's a fair comparison. But yeah, Bronson Reed, he has a lot of potential, and he has a long, not a long way to go. He has a ways to go to kind of prove himself to be in the mix.
Well, can I throw out another name that's kind of controversial?
Yokozuna.
Bill DeMott.
Oh yes.
Oh,
humorous.
God, I hope he's a better person than Bill DeMott. But yeah,
I do too.
I can see
but
the comparison.
Yeah,
I can see the comparison. Let me say this, and we'll go on to the next thing. I was just happy to see Bronson Reed on a WWE pay-per-view that wasn't an NXT show. So I hope this isn't the last we see of him on a pay-per-view, and I hope this continues. That he's on pay-per-views in the future.
My son actually did. He mentioned to me that this is the first WWE premium live event, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. I still call them pay-per-views. But it was the first actual one that he was on the main roster. So kudos to Bronson Reed. I thought it was a great show out for him. Guys, if I cut out on you guys, it's starting to lightning and thunder down here. So
yeah, I just heard a rumble of thunder on my end too. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, it is clouding up here a little bit. I just wanted to state that I was happy to see Bronson Reed, and then I was going to state, I understand why the match went short, because we're going to go right into the next match, which is your SmackDown Women's Champion, and that is Rhea Ripley taking on Queen Zelina in her home country, also with the LWO at her back. A very emotional moment for her as she came out and got introduced to her countrymen and women supporting her. Before going in, this was my stinker of the night. In no way, shape, or form should this match, going into it, been more than 5 minutes. I mean, it's like me taking on my 10-year-old, the size difference. I mean, Rhea and Zelina really had no business going that long. But the psychology of this match was good. It was David and Goliath in David's home country, and David had, all the help in the world, the backup to turn at the Judgment Day. And with all those surprises and stuff, I understand why this match went long, and it really made this match fun to me, just with how much it meant to Zelina and how much the country believed that she was going to win, and just how masterful. I'm not saying Rhea is the best women's wrestler in the company, but how masterful Rhea has become at facial expressions.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you one thing about Rhea Ripley. Whether she's the best on the roster or the worst on the roster, it doesn't matter, because she believes that she's the greatest on the roster. And that's what matters, dude. She's got all the confidence in the world. All this other crap's going to come with it. Trust me. She has all the confidence in the world, and that's what sets her apart. I'm not saying she's on the level of Charlotte and Becky, but man, she is heading that way very quickly.
And can I just ask?
Absolutely.
Where did Zelina Vega's arms go?
Well, I saw that too.
I was like, she has no arms. What happened?
Like, she's a hey, she's a Puerto Rican moth. That's what I thought.
Did she not remind everybody of Monet? Good old Sasha Banks. She looked like Sasha Banks with the hair,
the hair. But you know what? And Zelina Vega is. I'll talk about, like, Io Sky got showcased. Zelina Vega did here too, and Rhea did the masterful job of beating the crap out of the undersized face in her home country. It was masterful. 2 back-to-back pay-per-view, just kick-ass matches from Rhea Ripley with the Charlotte match at WrestleMania, and then last night at Backlash. What a fun match this turned out to be. It was fun.
And I want to point out, we mentioned the emotions in Zelina Vega. Michael Cole did point out during the match that this was dedicated to her late father. Zelina dedicated the match to her late father, which brings even an extra emotional level for Zelina to this match, who had tears pretty much throughout.
Right, and those listeners that didn't follow that, her father passed away in the 9/11 attacks in one of the, I believe it was one of the trade towers that got hit from the 9/11 attacks. But I do want to say, Zelina, she brought out the chonkala. Did anybody else notice that? She took the chonkala, and if some of the listeners don't know what a chonkala is, it's when a Mexican abuela or the mommy takes the sandal and just throws it right at you. It's very deadly and very, very aggressive.
Will we see Rhea take the sandal to Dom's butt?
Ooh.
Whoa.
I wonder.
I think it'd be funny, but
now
I did see
question.
that part. I did see that part and I laughed because it's kind of like a Hispanic lore, Hispanic tongue in cheek. When the mom takes off her sandal, asses are going to get beat. That's kind of what it was translated to me as.
And now my question is, would Dom get the chonkala as a punishment, or would it be? Oh, you know what?
I guess we have to discover that. I mean,
I'm not going to go there. I can't go there.
I mean, if they're going to drop the PG and go back to TV 14, I mean, we lived through the live sex celebration. We could get the Dom and mommy spanking.
Hey, prison changes a man.
Prison changes a man. It absolutely does. You guys have any more remarks about this match before we continue?
The only thing I wanna mention that counter by Rhea on the Hurricane Rana into the power bomb, very well done.
My God,
the face plant.
Yes.
Listen to me. She didn't drop her; she drove her.
Yes.
And that was a moment where I was like, "Uh-oh." But thankfully, all involved were just fine. But the size discrepancy in the women's bodies, Rhea, being the closest thing we've seen to China since China, and Zelina Vega, who's a cut up, just a tiny, Puerto Rican woman. The size disparaging was I was very worried about it going into this match, but man, what I thought was going to be the stinker of the night turned out to be a pretty good match.
Yeah, I agree. That was definitely not the stinker of the night. Like I said earlier, my stinker of the night probably would have been the triple threat United States title match.
Sure.
But that's after watching it. On paper, I thought about one of the match.
On paper, that was mine going in. The Rhea,
I agree.
Zelina was on paper was mine. Yep.
And not to any faults of either competitor. I mean, Zelina has her ups, Zelina has her downs. Rhea has her ups, Rhea, has her downs. But it's like these two were kind of mismatched on height level, mismatched on experience level. But it came out, and I think the big thing that helped this match out was the hometown hero of Zelina Vega and having her family in the crowd, which having her family in the crowd, I really thought that she might win it, because a lot of times when they have that family in the crowd, big things are going to happen. They're going to get the title, whatever. But
if this was AEW, Rhea would have dropped the belt last night, because Tony always has them win their title.
That's right. But it was a stellar match. It was a stellar match.
I'm going to interrupt for just a minute here. I'm going to stay with you guys as long as I can, but I'm pretty sure I am hearing the sirens going off here in Davenport. I'm not sure if you're hearing that, Stripes, on your end. But
I hear them now just as you say that.
But we've got some severe weather rolling in, so if we break out here, do apologize. We're going to keep going as long as we can, though.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and skip over to the not skip over, but let's go ahead and go on to the next matchup. I just totally lost my card. What was the next matchup? Anybody?
This is the Puerto Rican street fight, correct? This would be
The
between
one-
Bad Bunny and the Judgment Day's Damian Priest.
This is the match that I think should have main evented the show. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I would agree with that. Would you agree with that, Stripes?
So, yes and no. Here's why I say that. The matchup had all of the intricacies as the main event should. Had Bad Bunny going over, had the surprises of Savio Vega, Carlito spitting the apple.
Yes.
Yeah, I mentioned
very good call.
Carlito looks freaking amazing. The last time we saw Carlito, he looked amazing. Also, it had everything that would be a main event and send the crowd home happy. But here's why I say no, because we had Cody and Brock, and the visual of Brock with the unintentional cutting of the head, with him just gushing of the blood. It was more of like the big fight feel, and it was definitely the main event-esque match. But I definitely agree. At first I said yes.
I'm glad you brought this point up, Stripes. I'm glad we have three voices on here, because you're talking about Brock Lesnar bleeding and having that image. We're talking about that. We're not talking about Cody winning. We're talking about Brock Lesnar bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't want to skip ahead, but how Brock sat there bleeding after the match and Cody kind of got the hell out of Dodge. That shows me the focus is on Brock.
Brock. Yep.
They didn't really Cody got a clean pin. I mean, he held into the Kimura as long as he could take the pain, rolled it over and pinned Brock's shoulders. It was 1, 2, 3. And then he got out of there. I didn't like that at all. But I also know I'm not going to say the finish the story. I also know there's another episode coming tomorrow night.
Right.
I think we see Cody get destroyed tomorrow night. And this isn't over between these two. But I just, you talked about how Brock was bleeding at the end and how that had to be the main event. But I think so too. Hindsight's always 20/20 with the crowd. Yeah, the Bad Bunny match would have been great with all the callbacks and the celebrity tie-ins and stuff. It would have been the show to do it, not having Roman at the show, the world title. So anytime the world title's on should be the main event. This would have been the show to do it. It was in Puerto Rico. But I liked that Brock and Cody was the main event. They made their decision. I just don't like how they portrayed the ending and showed Cody not sticking around to celebrate. He got the hell out of there. I thought that was weird. I don't know.
So
am I wrong?
No, I agree. I was gonna say something, but I'm gonna save it for later. About the Cody Brock thing, I'm gonna save that.
I wanted to say that before we went off the air.
No, I agree. I agree. This match was nothing short of great. The story. This is another one of the matches that I love the storytelling. Damian Priest did not use a weapon until probably either halfway or 3/4 into the match, which was amazing. I loved it because Damian Priest should not have to use weapons on Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny should be the one that initiates the weapons. Bad Bunny should be the one that always goes back to the weapons when he's being chased after or anything like that.
Your psychology, you're right. Your psychology's got to be continental. Excuse me. The only weapon Damian Priest should use is the one that Bad Bunny drops as he's getting his butt kicked, like Bad Bunny brought in.
You know what I mean? The thing about that.
You're absolutely right.
I agree.
Damian Priest doesn't need to use a weapon, and you're right. I thought about that, and I'm like, you know what? They're doing this great. Guys, I thought he might have been the biggest winner coming out of the night. I
agree.
Yes.
If you're talking male superstars, I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse. There were some great performances, and Bad Bunny looked like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Much like we talked about Omos probably having the match of his life because of Seth Rollins. Damian Priest, I'm telling you guys, I think he is going to be in the end there towards, I think he could be your surprise world heavyweight champion. I just want to, I want to put that out there.
He could even win the Money in the Bank. He could win the Money in the Bank.
A lot of trust to be in there with the number one recording artist in the world. I saw a great tweet last night. Take this back to 1989. This would be like Michael Jackson and Ultimate Warrior tearing it up. Think about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's exactly
the
how
number
it could
one
be.
pop star. I mean, come on, guys. This isn't good. This is unbelievable. We have had we had some crap celebrity stuff growing up, and now we've got Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, Pat McAfee. All these people can come in. They care about the product. They're fans, and they put on good matches. So we talk about what a time to be a wrestling fan. That was a fun match last night. I read somewhere where the participants were a little ticked. They weren't the main event, so they said they decided to go out and steal the show. And
they did.
They did. Much like I loved the Ray and Dom match from WrestleMania and all the callbacks it had and moving parts. This match had triple the moving parts with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest in a street fight, but all the callbacks and the run-ins and all the people, it was fun. It was fun, and the crowd ate it up. Sopped it up like a biscuit and butter. I mean, they really ate it up, and I did too, but I wrote that down last night late. I thought Damian Priest had to be maybe the biggest winner of this show, in my opinion. He really stepped to a next level. I said it before about Rhea, but his facial gestures, his in-ring work, it's gotten crisper. It's not sloppy. I really am looking forward to seeing what the trajectory for Damian Priest.
I agree.
And Nick, I like that you talked about how the celebrities now, it's a different feel than back in the day. I mean, let's take a look at someone like Drew Carey. Do you think he gave a shit about being in the WWE? He was there to promote his show. That's all.
Cared.
That's it.
He might have cared. He might have been a fan at one point. I mean, okay, we had Mike Tyson at WrestleMania 14 in that buildup. That was kind of like, hey guys, welcome to the Attitude Era. We're here.
Yeah.
But other celebrities, I mean, Lawrence Taylor, Bam Bam Bigelow was okay. Lawrence Taylor's an athlete. He could go. I think most football players with some coaching could get in the ring, and NFL players. You're that good of an athlete. You can get in the ring and probably do a couple things. Lawrence Taylor, no exception there. But Logan Paul, a viral. I mean, he's a gifted athlete on top of whatever he has virally. I mean, look at him. It doesn't take a wrestling fan to see he is naturally gifted and athletic. You know, Bad Bunny using his stardom and getting more eyes on the WWE last night. I mean, I'd be interested to see like how many fresh eyes or new eyes were on that because of him last night, because they're a fan of his music or something. I'm sure.
And they
care.
Sure
yes.
They care about
they're not there to collect the damn check. They care.
That's it.
They care. Exactly. And that makes a big difference. That makes a big difference to the fans.
Yep.
And I don't want to poo-poo on people and the celebrities from the past coming in, and I don't want to say that nobody cares.
I don't want you poo-pooing, period.
Here's the thing: you look at I call back to WCW. You look at Dennis Rodman. You look at Karl Malone. Those guys are very athletic. They seem to care about the product and actually wanted to be there. Same with even David Arquette, who should never have been a world champion in any universe or reality at all. But he is a big wrestling fan. He cared about being there. He put in the work. And between there and where we are now, there are so many celebrities that just came in and they're there. Oh, great. I get a paycheck for coming out and waving. That is not the case here. I'll even give credit to Johnny Knoxville and his match with Sami Zayn a little over a year ago.
That's another one we forgot about. That a year ago, that was amazing. That was a match that everybody thought was going to be the drizzling shits, and it turned out to be a comedic, wrestling classic. So
I would call it a comedic masterpiece.
I agree.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
Speaking of David Arquette, I'm gonna do my recommendation early. Oh, no. If you guys have not seen the documentary "You Cannot Kill David Arquette," please go out and watch it. I'm
Listen,
not saying
the first half. I've seen the first half of it, and when CZ brought up that, we are going to have to review that documentary. That is
it's
awesome,
amazing.
I
It's
need to
nothing
finish it,
short
dude.
of
It is
amazing.
amazing. It
And
is
that's what
amazing.
happened with me. I watched half of it, and then I was like, it was like late at night, and I
I'm
watched half
watching
of
it right after we record. That is such. I've
Where-
seen the first half of the doc.
Where can we stream it?
Hulu. Hulu has it streamed. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty with Nick Bull, but you can actually get that on Hulu. You can stream that on Hulu. I believe you can have
So good.
other places. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Hello, welcome back, Mr. Bull.
Okay, now
I'm
we're back.
I'm
We're
here.
good.
I'm
Okay.
here. We're dealing with weather issues. I can see the weather moving in.
Yep,
CZ
it's coming in.
says he can hear the siren. Hopefully you can get to immediate shelter if you need to. But
Yes.
I
Most
think it's on
definitely.
Hulu. I forgot where I seen it. It was
Yep, it is on Hulu. Yep.
the reason I got turned on to it. I seen the Nick Gage Dark Side of
pizza.
the Ring episode.
Yes.
And David Arquette, Nick Gage have a big match. That's a big part of it, and it's an interesting story. But that's something we need to put into the card subject to change review
Yes.
queue.
I completely
sure.
agree.
I'm glad you brought it up,
I'm with
Stripes. I'm glad you brought it up. Where does that leave us now here for the show? We kind of
So we've got 2 matches
trip-
left.
Yep, 6-man tag. And when I saw the 2 matches that were left, I thought the crowd was gonna be just spent. I thought the crowd was gonna be gassed out. They were gonna check out of the last 2 matches, and there was gonna be just barely any crowd reaction. I didn't think they were gonna sit on their hands per se, but I thought it was gonna be very, very mild. But I was wrong. Those Puerto Ricans, they love their wrestling. And I think somebody wrote on Twitter or Facebook, they were saying Puerto Rico should get a WrestleMania. And I agree. Puerto Rico should get a WrestleMania with this crowd reaction.
This crowd, I'm guessing, I don't know, 18 years not having a show, one thing. I don't know what the heck they took. I don't know what the heck they were on. I just envisioned this big pile of blow being on top of this big giant mirror in the parking lot. And they all lined up and took a sniff of it before they went to the show because everybody was batshit crazy.
It was right at the ticket booth. They were coming in.
Every show would be so much more fun if the crowd was invested in batshit crazy.
Yes.
I know it's hard to be batshit crazy for a whole show, but these people found a way.
But
and
they
it made
were.
the show-
They were
it
the
made
whole
the
show.
fun. They were crazy.
And the dynamic with this 6-man tag was amazing because you were like, okay, is Jimmy going to turn on Jay? Is Jimmy going to turn on Solo, or is Jay going to turn on
Solo
Jimmy?
gonna carry out a hit?
Or is Solo gonna, everybody and just walk out? It was one of those matches where you were curious what was going to happen next because I just envisioned Solo coming out and just spiking everybody and leaving.
Oh, there were so many times where I thought he was just going to lay out either Jimmy or Jay.
It's there. They're teasing it, right? They teased it on SmackDown.
No doubt.
I'm going to do my part. I hope you guys do yours.
The big thing I want to point out with that, Solo repeatedly tagging himself in, much to the dismay of his brothers.
And then
when Jay
himself right back out, I'm like,
and Solo's like, you hit me. And the rest of the match, Solo was like, and I laughed.
And the stare down at the end, Solo just staring daggers at his brothers, looking like it was a moment like, is he gonna take him out? Is he just gonna stare him down? What can we expect? Holy crap.
I'm hearing the sirens here at my place.
Yeah, I think this matchup, I think that this win solidified the Usos getting a little bit more borrowed time from the tribal chief Roman Reigns.
Yes.
For sure. Probably bought him some time. I thought when Solo tagged in to finish the match and Jay tagged him out and they had that long stare down, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to lose. And Roman is going to go off on Jay for being selfish and putting himself before the family. But that didn't happen. But
no,
I don't want it to happen. I don't want this to end. I want this story to continue.
Forever.
I don't want it to jump the shark per se.
Yeah.
But I also, this thing still has some legs. It still has some legs. I mean, go back and look at the post-match celebration between Solo and the Usos. Solo still has that hand cocked, like he wants to jab that thumb, up Jay's throat, give him the Samoa spike. So he's still, keyed in on it. So that's going to be interesting. They've already advertised Roman for SmackDown since, the announcement of these 12 names for this tournament coming up for the World Heavyweight title. There's a lot that's going to be written here. Finish the story, whatever. There's a lot of stories to be written. And
can I say that?
Oh, for sure.
This story you said has more legs and it can go further. Think of a story in modern times that's had this kind of legs, had this kind of reaction. There hasn't been one since maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock,
the Stripes,
Attitude Era.
You make a great point there because everybody's like, oh, it's Hogan's reign, Backlund's reign, San Martino's. I don't care. They weren't doing as many shows as what these guys are doing today. And I know Roman's working this lesser schedule or whatever. Okay. Guess what? He's your champion. He recovered from leukemia. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need him on TV every week.
Nope.
He's there. This storyline is so big, fellas. He wasn't even at the pay-per-view last night.
And people are still talking about him.
And people are still wanting more of the bloodline, okay?
Yes.
This storyline is, they don't need him there. Guess who else wasn't there? Paul Heyman wasn't there. Right?
Yep.
So this bloodline thing is bigger than what people, want to believe. And this schedule, Roman, I'm telling you what, Hogan wasn't doing 12 pay-per-views a year and possibly 2 TVs a year. Neither was San Martino. So I look at this reign as one of the modern era.
Yep.
Yes.
You can say the other guys' names or whatever, but the Roman Reigns era in the modern era, post-COVID, social media, streaming, everybody can get wrestling every day.
And we're not taking anything away from the Bruno San Martinos. We're not taking anything away from the Hulk Hogan's.
That was a different place and different time.
It was exactly. It was a different place, different time. And now it is a different place and a different time for Roman Reigns. And
what he's done is nothing short of extraordinary, guys. We are sitting here talking about the freaking bloodline. Still, it's not, we're talking about it in a good light. Right. And Roman wasn't even there last night. He wasn't even on the card. So this thing's great, man. It's going to run. I just don't know who's next for Roman. I guess we'll find out in the coming weeks. We got this tournament coming up in the coming weeks, but you guys, what a fun show. What a fun show this was. If you still want to talk about it, I'll stay here until I'm kicked off by the weather.
Yeah, I was going to,
that show was so good. But if there's anything else, CZ, you need to say, or Stripes, I think we probably should wrap it up due to safety.
I definitely think we should. So the quick thing I want to mention here is we got that World Heavyweight. I don't know if it's good, a World Heavyweight title tournament coming up. What is the title name? Does anybody know what the title name is?
The WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Yep, the WWE WHC.
So they did announce today that the participants of the tournament have been announced. From Raw, you've got Seth Rollins, Sheamus, The Miz, Edge, and this is just everybody. I'm sorry, not just who's it on. But we got Sheamus, Seth Rollins, Miz, Edge, Rey Mysterio, Shinsuke, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Austin Theory, and Cody Rhodes made up the rest of the field. But the only complaint I really do have about this, and we talked about this before, is we have some from Raw and some from SmackDown. Now, what if, say, a SmackDown competitor would win this tournament per se.
They would go to Raw.
But then it would almost make the draft
irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, I know that. I mean, most drafts are. I mean, 2.5 weeks from now, we're going to have somebody that's supposed to be on the other show, and they're going to be on that show, and nobody's going to.
Oh, agreed.
I know exactly what you mean.
Right.
I'm inclined to think it's going to be a Raw person. They probably just didn't want to throw 6 more names from Raw on there because some of the
Seth Rollins,
some of the names would have been watered down.
Yeah. Yep.
But
that was the only thing I wanted to bring up.
Otis.
Couple more things we want to mention before we get off the air. Stripes, you've got a big announcement for this coming Wednesday. Go ahead and spill the beans there.
So this coming Wednesday night, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a special card subject to change Wednesday edition. I just got off the Twitter sphere this week with Nick Hausman from Wrestling Inc. is going to be joining us on Card Subject to Change. Nick Hausman has a new podcast in the works. Actually, it's already going on. It's called. I just had it up here. Hold on. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
While Stripes finds that, Nick Hausman, of course, with Wrestling Inc. If you don't know who Nick Hausman is, we'll talk about this in the interview, but it'll be very later in the interview because I'm really interested in talking about Nick Hausman as the wrestling fan now that he's in the business. But Nick Hausman was the target of CM Punk's anger at the all-out press scramble that started,
media scrum
that started the famous beef in AEW. So CM Punk is chewing out Nick Hausman. We were going to have him in here. Obviously, I want to ask, how'd you feel in that moment? But I also want to ask Nick, hey, you're a wrestling fan and you're in the wrestling business.
Yep.
I can't wait to get his take on things of that subject matter.
And his new podcast is called House of Wrestling, HAUS, House of Wrestling. He also is new to the Premier Streaming Network, which one of the co-owners is Freddie Prinze Jr., who, if you don't know, former writer.
Yep,
exactly, former writer. He was rumored to actually be starting his own company. I don't know if that's going to be coming to fruition here in the near future. Maybe we can talk about Freddie and Nick Hausman's relationship with him. But I think that's a huge get for the Card Subject to Change podcast. Nick Hausman is definitely, he's been in and around the wrestling business for quite some time. Chicago native. So he does know, CM Punk, Scott Colton. He said he was friends with him. So this is going to be a huge interview Wednesday night. We're going to hopefully jump around here about 6 p.m. Central Time. And I'm looking forward.
We got that on Wednesday. Stripes and myself will be a part of that. Wizard CZ, still to be determined. CZ, you want to tell us about next week's show before we hop off here, before the weather takes us off?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to do something fun. We are welcoming back another former interviewee, friend of the podcast, JT Energy, is going to join us next week. But we're not just talking to JT. We're not doing a standard interview. We're going to catch up with him. We're going to talk about what's going on in his world. But he has given us an assignment. Fire up your Peacock. Go to Superstars, WWE Superstars, Season 11, Episode 18, if you want to follow along. It is billed as May 14th, 1996. The show emanated from Des Moines, Iowa. So understandable why this is a show close to Mr. Energy's heart here. We're going to be reviewing that with Mr. Energy. JT, like I said, he gave us an assignment. We're following through. That is coming up next week when we have him on. That'll be our next regularly scheduled episode. That's gonna put a bow on things for us here. If you're out in the weather listening to us live, stay safe. Get to shelter if you need to. If you're listening to this after the fact, obviously you're not in the weather that we're experiencing right now. We will see you Wednesday. And then back again on Sunday. And thank you all for tuning in tonight.
And if you are watching this on Facebook, put hashtag replay in the comments so we can get more hits. See ya.